Hello, everybody. We are Easy Allies, and we are here to discuss the Capcom block of games. We saw 3 games. We saw 2, played 1, and we're going to start with Resident Evil Requiem. Isla and I got to see...
I got goosebumps just you saying it.
Yes. This was a theater demonstration.
Yeah.
So they, funneled us in and they showed us Resident Evil Requiem. And it was an edited video of about 12 or so minutes, roughly, I would say.
But it is just a prelude to their darkest
Symphony,
overture.
Yeah.
That's what it said at the end of the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, this is but a prelude to our darkest overture.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And we were all like, yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, fuck.
You know what it means? Jill's gonna be on the piano at some point.
Oh, ooh, yeah, Moonlight
let's
Sonata, bro.
Maybe a demo coming too. There's always a demo.
They
so
usually
hopefully.
do a demo.
But what we saw was, Grace Ashcroft,
Hell yeah.
the presumed daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft from Resident Evil Outbreak of all games.
Yeah.
With a little Easter egg in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. And she is hanging upside down, getting her blood drawn.
Yeah. Which you see in the trailer. The thing that you've seen in the trailer is where this demo started.
Yeah. So she's prisoner, strapped in. She's freaking out. The
High resolution sweat beads.
high resolution sweat, insane, breath sound, just like
She has constant, raggedy, terrified breaths.
yeah,
All the time.
all the time. And she's getting her blood drawn for unknown reasons. Could be some kind of, bio weapon, T virus, G virus. Who the hell knows even
She at
what's
one
going
point
on.
does say, "What the hell did they do to me?"
Yeah.
So,
experimentation is no stranger to the Resident Evil franchise.
Yeah.
On brand.
but she's upside down. She starts out by classic pulling on the blood
So
tube,
classic.
knocking over the thing, and using the glass from the jar of her own blood to cut one hand free.
Super cool.
In this sequence that you're seeing on
Yeah.
screen right now. But then she, gets her other hand free, gets her chest torso binder off,
Yeah.
and then
Sarah
chooses,
Connor Terminator 2 vibes.
yeah.
Nice.
But then she
But instead of a
chooses to rock back and forth to knock the gurney over instead
Yeah.
of just doing a crunch to undo her feet, which is what I would have done.
Okay. I didn't even think about that.
That seems like an intense move to make your whole body fall over on a giant table, but whatever.
Making a lot of noise.
Making a lot of noise.
So the first thing I noticed was the best lighting in a video game of all time.
In precipitous darkness.
Ever. The actual best
And this
lighting.
was first person.
Yep. So she's in this room and classic Mr. X RPD vibes, Damiani. You just hear footsteps and doors above and outside. You're like, what is this? Just like,
Yeah.
so she's freaking out. The demo, she's like looking around and then she leaves the room and
They
there's
had-
the darkness.
They had a very, very
Cinematic
player and funny.
Yeah.
The way that the person was playing the game for this capture, they would hear a noise and look around and then try a light switch 4 times, but it wouldn't work. They were really, and people in the audience were kind of chuckling because it's
Yeah.
that's what I would do too.
Yeah.
It was good.
So I couldn't really get a sense of where we were. It definitely said ward, hospital.
It seemed like
ward
some kind
type.
of weird old hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really slow paced in the best way, creeping into the darkness. There was a really epic moment. My favorite moment of the whole thing was a classic Conjuring moment where just out of the pitch black darkness, a bottle rolls on the ground out of the darkness towards you. And that was a
then
really funny moment where it just went the other way.
She was like, nope, and went the other way.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Because the first half of the trailer, the power's basically mostly off. None of the lights are working. She has no light. And so she's just kind of doing what a player would do and seeing which ways she can go, looking down various hallways.
Yeah.
And then, she goes to one hallway and she turns the light switch on and it works. But then there's something standing at the end of the hallway.
Yeah.
And everyone is like, ooh. And then she like tries to turn, she like looks behind herself, but then like that's where the bottle was. So she's like, okay. And she walks forward. And then as she gets closer, you see it's just a horse statue.
Totally messing
Classic
with you. Trolling.
Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Almost said Nine Inch Nails, which makes no sense.
This is on brand.
And then she gets to a door with a big cherub seal on it that's locked.
Need a
need
a
the cherub
specific
key.
We were looking for a fuse and a screwdriver.
And the fuses said one-time fuse on them. Like
all the staples.
It's all the staples.
Yeah.
Like if there was a bolt cutter, there's going to be a bolt cutter.
And a crank, of course.
She had to get a screwdriver. At one point, she saw up to there was a tool case, but it was slightly higher than she could reach, and it just said like, it's too high, I need something to stand on. And like people chuckle because it's like, okay, this is all like very standard survival horror stuff. She moved a cart over and got on there.
So then she gets something, whether it was the fuse.
She got a lighter.
She got the lighter.
First she gets a lighter.
She has to take the fuse and put it somewhere else, so then the lights go off.
This is before the fuse she got the lighter, but it was amazing because
God, it looks good.
It looked amazing, but it also like it's one of those things where like it helps and it kind of hurts because it increases your local light, but decreases how far you can see because it's a light next to yourself. So it makes it even more claustrophobic and scary. But she, with the lighter, goes into the room that the bottle rolled out of, and she goes in and then opens the door. First scare of the thing. She opens the door and a body falls out on her.
So cool.
And she sort of comedically checks the pulse, even though he's
this
clearly
thing is, like,
dead.
Rotted.
And then she says he's infected. So it's like she knows obviously about the infections.
Yeah.
But then the craziest thing.
A fucking hand. Like an El Gigante sized hand.
Well, clawed, gray, mutated hand.
Picks up the corpse and bites it, dude.
Bites
like
its head
in
off.
half.
Bites its head off.
Yeah.
And like it's like right past her, reaches like over her and grabs the thing, and then she's just like, and like looks around over, and this thing like eats this guy's head off.
It is like a giant baby monster fish vibe freako.
Something
like
I'll use a rocket launcher on immediately.
Immediately.
It was like a
you
fish
have
baby
a
monster,
weapon.
yeah. But then it's like, for a second, you're like, okay, can this thing not see?
Like, what is your... Yeah,
like,
what are you
what's
doing?
the deal? Because she's like kind of just crouching right next to it. And this is all first person, so it's like right in your face.
Yeah.
And then it like, the teeth from the trailer of this thing, it goes...
The teeth were part of this creature.
Toward her face, right? But then it stands up and starts following you.
Yeah.
So she's just like, oh shit, okay. And then she just starts running.
Running, little gameplay element too.
Yeah.
She's running, gets hit from behind.
Gets hit from
Classic
behind,
gameplay
trips, has to get up. But she kept looking behind herself and it's like right on her ass.
Yeah.
It was tense.
It was really tense, Tommy. This thing is huge.
This thing's
and the
huge.
best part about it is it's fucking massive in a really confined space. These hallways were tight. It's creeping through the door.
It showed
its
it go...
head is like at the ceiling. Its shoulders are at the wall.
They showed it going through a door. She looked back and it was going through a door and it was just like...
Yeah. It like can crawl on the ground.
Yeah.
This thing was a top tier Resident Evil freako.
It's incredible. And then like... she goes into a room, shuts the door, and it like tries to get in.
I thought of you cheesing it. It felt like Mr. X style,
like
where you can go into some rooms and it won't mess with you. Because then at that part too, it faded to black and picked up later.
Yeah.
I think to hide the fact that you can just like go in there and
Yeah,
be safe.
it definitely like tried to get on the door, but then it didn't go through. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But then, so she gets the fuse. It faded to black, gets the fuse, and she cuts somewhere else. And opens the cherub door, and then so some of the lights are more on, and she's in this room, and then she got something else, whatever, comes back out, and this thing is there again, and chases her. Yeah, and it's got one big freaky eye. Chases her into a room, and she's trapped. She's like cornered. She shuts the door, and she's cornered, and it like slams around. But then you hear it like there's a bang, and then you hear like the lights on the ceiling like rattle and like it goes all over the place and she's just like, what the hell, And then she goes outside in the hall and there's nothing there, and then the camera just pans up, and there's a giant hole in the ceiling.
It's so intense.
So this thing can just
Xenomorphs.
break into the ceiling whenever it wants to, and like whatever.
Yeah.
So then a little later, she's walking,
slithered in
and
somewhere.
and then all of a sudden it just like comes down out of the ceiling. So you see it for 1 second in the trailer, like slithering down out of the ceiling. That's this thing.
Yeah.
And so really intense.
So intense.
Just so dark, so claustrophobic.
And the best part about Resident Evil is when you're in those insanely, it's the balance, obviously.
Yeah.
The safe times, the action times, and the moments like this where you have to do something and get things from A to B in the most scary situation possible. Darkness with a giant freak chasing you down or just stalking you. So I love those gameplay
But it was like all very clear, like very, very classic. I mean, we were saying this from the trailer, like these are the classic locations. We're going back, and the gameplay felt very classic. And they said this before the presentation. They were like, okay, Grace Ashcroft, she is in the FBI. She's trained with guns. She's she's not bad at guns, but she's a naturally very timid, shy person. She's like an analyst. She's not used to this kind of stuff.
Clue solver, not a soldier.
She's good at deduction. She's a detective basically. And so like they said that the story is a very personal one and of her kind of like growing in the face of adversity, which obviously you have to do as a Resident Evil protagonist. But like it's kind of an interesting thing where it's like she's trained in weapons. She's not like a spring chicken in that regard, but it's like she doesn't have any weapons. She's kind of a pacifist, doesn't want to use any weapons, and like is timid naturally.
I think she'll get weapons eventually.
Oh no, she will. She will. They said she'll have guns and stuff, but like she's saying that they were saying that it kind of starts out where she's more like on the back foot, and I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting.
Definitely.
Because a lot of Resident Evil, you come in as a commando,
Yeah, that's why it was cool to be Ethan. I know Ethan gets a bad rap, but like Ethan also was just like for a while just a normal dude.
She's like a more capable Ethan.
Because FBI, trained and
she's capable but very timid. I mean, you can see in the trailer she's like doesn't want to speak up to her boss and all that kind of stuff.
I hope we get to play a lot of FBI headquarters.
I wonder.
I want to walk around and do stuff there. So then the big reveal.
The big reveal,
the
Damiani.
Megaton reveal that is sure to please 85% of the fan base.
Pause the game.
Pause the game. Go
to
the menu.
options. Go to gameplay or whatever. Perspective. Third person. Anytime. Swap between them. Whenever you want.
I already know that I'm going to play my playthrough with both.
Yeah.
Moments, these stealthy, scary moments, first person, feel that immersion and fear. Anytime the action picks up, maybe, switch to third. Just like if there's other playable characters too. Yeah. Just like when I want to take a closer look at something, go to first. Like just being able to swap is so exciting.
And it's funny because like I don't know if I had heard before this that this was maybe in it or I sniffed it, but like for the whole demo, this is my only critique. This game is flawless so far, obviously from a canned, demo, whatever. Yeah. Didn't get to play it, but like perfect, everything I ever wanted, no notes except this. There was a lot of foot noise that at first I thought was an enemy, that I thought was something else because we're in first person, and I'm like, what is that? Like she's looking around and you hear like, and I'm like, okay, there's something like right on us. What is that? And then I realized
it was us.
It's us because it's simulating us in third person all the time, even if we're in first person. So it's animating her feet moving when she's slightly turning, because it's like, okay, you're slightly turning, but really your character model is turning. Yeah. And you hear your own feet. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, if they can, They should do something where it's like if you're in first person, turn off the audio for your foot animations because it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was pretty loud when you pointed that out.
But
it was loud.
That's literally my only nitpick, and that seems pretty fixable. Yeah, yeah. This game looks incredible.
There was also like a gate shut that they didn't go through, and they like peeked through, and it actually really reminded me of the lobby in the RPD building. I don't think it was. Obviously, it wasn't. We were in like a hospital area. But it like looked like that setup.
But it seems like we're in Raccoon City, some hospital. But like, who knows? Maybe from 3? Would it be the hospital from 3?
I mean, we know what happened to Raccoon City, so it's
Yeah.
like crazy that anything is still standing
Yeah.
at all.
Well, we see the big crater, so they only
Yeah.
dropped one bomb.
yeah, but it was like a nuke, like,
Yeah.
dude.
Someone's gonna take an official map or a fan-made map of
Yeah.
all the official data
Overlay it.
and take that screenshot that
yeah.
shows a wide shot and be like, all right, let's see what survived.
Gotta do
I'm
it.
surprised
Yeah.
if it's not up there already.
Yeah.
I mean,
Should be
somebody
up there.
has to
Yeah.
have done that, yeah. Like,
Now-
here's RPD, here's the Spencer Mansion off in those.
Yeah.
Because it's not, I don't think you could really see it in that shot, but it would be up in the mountains over
I
there.
just ask, Capcom is catering to their fans' demands here with first person, third person, what have you. Fix cameras, please.
If they put like a mode.
Or like a section of the game. Give me a freaking fixed camera nod, Capcom.
You know
that
what'd be
is what
fun?
I was born with. That is what I was born on. That is the absolute origin
You know
of
the way
this
they can do it?
entire franchise. I'm begging you to show us a little bit of respect here. Give us a
Wow,
little bit.
okay.
Yeah, just a little bit.
This
just
is
give
the
us a little
greatest fan
nod.
service they've
Just a
ever
little-
done. What are you talking
Just a
about?
little bit.
This is the last
No, you know what they do is,
One part.
well, you just have a section. Sorry, they could have a section where you go into a place and someone else is like monitoring you, and so they're seeing you just through CCTV. Yeah,
That's what I mean.
That could be
something
cool.
like that. Something just one time.
yeah, just a section, a nod.
Especially because we're going back to Raccoon
Yeah.
City. We are going back to the origins. They are hyping this up as the end of the saga and the beginning of a new saga. So what better way to celebrate this entire franchise than also having a little fixed camera nod in some capacity?
Don't worry,
were you
Hubert.
gonna
The
say?
next time they show it off, they'll go back to that same menu. You'll be like, what are they doing again? Gameplay. First,
cameras,
third,
dude.
fix.
First, third, fix.
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
I'm curious if Fish Baby is like a pursuer or if it's just an enemy in this area or whatever. I mean, it
Yeah.
looked pretty formidable, but she didn't have any weapons at
Yeah.
all for this section.
Some
so
people were talking about Lisa Trevor, and it's like, I mean, it's
her proportions are kind of
Yeah.
like Lisa Trevor,
It's a
but she didn't
similar
really
vibe, but no.
look like.
No.
I mean, her face. I don't know.
yeah, no.
It could be a grown-up Lisa Trevor or a Lisa Trevor like offspring.
So,
or
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing because I've said this before, but I do assume. Like, what are the effects of nuclear radiation, nuclear bomb fallout on,
G virus outbreak.
These freakos.
G-virus yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
like, yeah. And does the T virus and G virus react to radiation in different ways? Like,
Exactly.
that could be cool.
That is cool.
Like,
Yep.
this game is going to be so tight.
Yeah.
February 27th.
That is
Can't
close.
come soon enough.
That is close.
Just after my birthday, baby.
Yeah, right before my mom's birthday.
Oh, hell yeah. Happy
Yeah.
birthday to your mom.
There it is.
Yeah, Goaty. Goaty 2026 right
Literally
here.
Goaty.
You're looking at
Awesome.
it.
Yeah. And then next,
Dude, looking good.
looking real good, Onimusha
Of
Way of
course.
the Sword. The trailers don't do it
The
justice.
trailers do not do this game justice.
at all.
The trailers are not even half
No.
as good as what we saw with this game.
Right when they booted up the gameplay, and it's like, okay, RE engine, third person, Resident Evil 2 looking Japan, samurai action, let's go. Way better than the trailers.
Also, they said the guy is modeled after Mifune, which I was like, he looks like Mifune.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks incredible.
So good looking, dude.
The combat seems really interesting.
Not a Souls-like at all. This is an action-adventure game. This is
an
not
Onimusha-like.
Souls, exactly.
It is
I know everyone,
a lot like Onimusha.
yeah, everyone's like, oh, another Souls. And it's like, no, it's not that
Right.
at all. The...
I mean, it is that in that there's a sword.
Yes.
And like you can parry, I guess. Like
Sure, yeah, there's parrying and dodging.
it has combat.
Yeah. You're fighting big monstrosities.
Yeah. And there are souls.
Yeah.
You suck up the souls with your gauntlet.
The pace
Okay.
was pretty deliberate, pretty slower. In not like molasses slow, but like heavy. You felt the weight of him moving and like taking out enemies.
They were also RP walking for like half the demo.
Yeah, but they were hyping it up that when you face like 3 or so enemies at a time,
It's
that it
tough.
is a big deal. They were really hyping that up. So it's all about these intimate encounters, not, an onslaught of Genma hunting you down. It's like this one section, 4 of them come up and they're like, uh-oh, like
Yeah.
when you face multiple enemies, you really need to be on your toes. They can overwhelm you easily. one of my favorite parts was when the ninjas came out. There were these 2 ninja characters, and they can attack you at the same time, but then you can deflect them at the same time.
Oh.
So he's like deflecting like one sword into the other.
You can block at any angle.
Any angle. If an enemy's
like
behind you and you block,
he'll just go.
he goes goosh, like that. It was awesome.
That's sick.
It looked really good. The animations
sick.
were very good.
Yeah.
And do you remember the term for the like specifically timed attack? It was like an Onma or something. I can't remember. But there's a thing where
like a counterattack, basically.
It's like a counterattack, but if you attack at the exact time they're attacking you, you do a special attack. And so they showcased,
which I could never get down in the original.
It's tough.
Ever. It's always
they
random.
showcased it that moment where there were 4 Genmine there. They were like, this would be really hard if you tried fighting them individually, which you could do.
Yeah.
But if you perfectly timed this first thing, whatever it's called, that attack counter thing, you can chain it.
Yeah.
So they were like, they got the first guy with that thing and then did the animated the thing on him. And then they were like, went to the next one, went to the next one, went to the next one. So they cleared all 4.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
So it's about precision.
Yeah.
But you can also mash it out, like Onimusha style, you know? They go to some enemies and just like bam, 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 dead. Like
They deflected a arrow back at a guy.
Perfect.
When enemies die, they leave their souls out. There's gold, red, and blue that give you different things. But some enemies can suck the souls up and get stronger themselves.
they did that they were hyping that up.
They said
weirdly,
in the
But
interview.
that's been before.
Those are in the older games.
That's
I think-
definitely in the older ones.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
for new people like me who I
Yeah,
just
for
reacted
sure.
that way. Yeah.
And I think too in this time around, the enemies that sucked up the souls then had a different attack. They didn't steal your souls and bounce.
Yeah,
so I think that was the
it
distinction.
powers them. I think that's what they meant, is that it powers them up just like it powers you up.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. There was also the anime rival that we saw in the trailer
Yes,
with
yes.
a gauntlet as well. The gauntlet talks to you.
Which is really cool. And like the writing was really fun because
Really fun.
he was like, come on, Gauntlet. Like clearly they
Gauntlet lady.
at this point in the game they haven't actually like they don't know each other. And he's like, come on, Gauntlet lady, tell me what's going on. And she's like, I will not respond. I will not be answering any questions or responding in any other way to Gauntlet lady.
Yeah.
she was like
Sassy.
She was like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. And my favorite part too is his character. He doesn't want this gauntlet. He wants to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because he wants, so anime. He wants to be the best swordsman, and he thinks it's cheating.
Oh.
He's like, this thing's OP,
He's
dude.
refusing to, but he's refusing to use it as as much as he can, and that means it's not corrupting him. Whereas this guy is using it as much as he can, and it's like turning him more and more demonic.
Taking people out.
Yeah,
Also, we did an interview with the devs, and we
which will
asked
be up
them.
soon.
Yeah,
if it's
we
not
asked
up already.
some deep dive questions that they go into. One of the biggest notes that I learned was that it is primarily about your main sword, and now your special weapons and abilities are tied to like a special move type meter, where it's like you charge that meter up and then you use that. So for example, it's like the twin blades, but like your main sword, your standard sword is always like your primary weapon. In the older games, you had, your special lightning sword or your ice spear or
Okay.
your fire sword that all had magic tied to them. Whereas the magic weapons are separate from like your primary weapon.
But it seems like you'll be able to have some control over that because one of the coolest features that they showed that we hadn't seen before is when you're fighting a larger enemy, and you. So
is sick.
big bosses will have, like a separate bar under their health bar, like a poise bar or whatever. When you get that down, they're in a broken stance for a second, and then you get a choice.
Yeah, weak points.
With the two bosses they showed us, it was red and a blue. They said that could be different sometimes, but there was on the two that they showed us, the red was on the head and the blue was on like the arm or the other like somewhere else on their body, and you could pick which one you wanted. And so the red just does a boatload of damage.
Yeah.
Right? But maybe doesn't give you back any souls to heal up or charge your powers
Yeah,
at
it just
all.
does
but it does a
damage.
boatload of damage.
Knock
And
the
then
hat off too.
you
is
can
cool.
knock the hat off on the other guy. But then the blue one does a little less damage, but drops a lot of souls or whatever. So you can charge up your
refill
health,
or-
charge up your powers, and
Yeah.
then get other specials. So like they used the red on one time to like get a guy's health way down, and then they used the blue at a different time when their health was low
So sick.
to heal up and charge their power move
Yeah.
to do that the twin blade attack. I think at that time is what they were using.
Super cool.
So it's like it's within your power to choose when and what kind of powers you want to use in a
Tactical
fight.
fighting.
It's
Tactical
really
fighting.
it was really a
said,
cool
yeah.
system.
And
I don't think
then-
I've seen that before.
No. And then I loved the environmental stuff. We briefly saw it in the
Incredible,
trailer as
yeah.
well. Walks into a room with an archer, picks up the floorboard to dodge the
So good.
arrow, and then kicks it at the enemy. And then also there's like flaming pots everywhere around,
great.
knocking enemies into the fire, stuff like that. So using the environment seemed pretty important.
Yeah, it was very like interactive in that way, and then also the story involves the environment in a cool way because
Yeah.
he'll come across these kind of like dark orbs sometimes, and they, you know, classic video games.
Yep.
Give him a little glimpse, a little glimpse into the past,
Yeah.
right? But the cool thing is he's walking through it, and like ghosts from the past are kind of like bumping into you and like phasing out for a second, and then, you know, they're all walking up into the temple,
So
and you
fucking
try to walk
sick.
into the temple and you can't go forward, and you're
Dude.
like, what's going on? And you see a slight outline of something. So then you leave the past and you're in the present, and there's a giant like woven thing blocking the door, and then you follow this little thread to this creepy little hand spider thing like weaving the door
The
shut.
demonic vibes are a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, there's civilians running around. Everyone is like scared out of their minds. People will just like run by you screaming.
and then get shot in the head with an
Yeah.
arrow. Like this woman was like,
It is
please help me,
intense.
and then gets killed by a Genma or whatever they're
Yeah.
called.
And
Like,
then
intense.
Yeah, and then just like the old ones too, it's historical fiction, like folklore, really leaning into that. So there's one of the, you know, the temples they said was like a real temple.
They said they went there and modeled it
Yeah.
on the real life. They were like, if you ever go in real life, please compare it.
Oh my god,
Like,
I wish.
yeah.
And then the demons were making people throw their family members off of the balcony to their death.
Off the temple.
So hardcore.
But which they said was kind of a tweak on real life because
Yes.
there is historical evidence of bodies having been thrown off this temple.
It's so
and
intense,
maybe
dude.
they're not exactly sure why. They said they're kind of like tweaking the history there.
Yeah.
But they're saying like the real life stuff is inspired by, or the game is inspired by real life stuff. Also, like the main two characters were real life rivals. Like this guy and the guy that he fights in the trailer. Musashi and do you remember the other guy's name? Like Genji or something? I
forget.
Sort of the G, I think. But
Yeah, I forget.
they were like real life rivals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
this game
shaping
seems
up.
sick as hell.
It's
dude.
shaping up. I am a little biased because it's Onimusha. So
Of
after the
course.
trailers, I was just excited that it's back. I was like, oh, it looks really good, but I feel like it's not translating what it's actually like. And then when we saw this slice of gameplay, I was like, that is everything I wanted. I am way more hyped and comfortable now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
So-
it feels like, because Huber and I both played a whole lot of Onimusha as teens, and like the vibes feel
are right.
right.
The vibes are
like
right.
it feels like an Onimusha game, which is very cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
looks,
pumped.
looks good.
You're so pumped.
Excited
dude.
for you.
I'm excited for you. Yeah, I'm excited for
Oh yeah,
everybody.
because remind everyone.
Yeah, if
you can
Damiani likes it, he's
no,
going to go back.
No, but new players can just jump right
in.
Well, and specifically,
Yes.
not related to the other games.
That's what I asked him in the
There you
interview,
go.
and they were like, I was like, where in the timeline is this? And they're like, it's completely unrelated, separate.
Even from the
all of
anime.
that. Anime is separate because the anime has Musashi as well.
Yeah.
So I asked about if there's any kind of
So it's its own
connection
thing.
there. So
It is its
anyone can
own
hop
thing.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And if
Cool.
you can't wait, the 1 and 2 remasters are available on the cheap right now. So
Yeah.
there you go. And then
right.
we saw one more game.
We're gonna get blood in here for this one because I
Yep.
didn't play it. Let's see.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Yo.
This was absolutely the most surprisingly amazing game that I played at the show.
Okay,
Holy
okay.
shit. It went from like Capcom, obviously I'm going to play it. I love sci-fi, it looks cool, to like, I need this game now.
What game is this?
Pragmata.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm gonna say, even though I didn't see it, I couldn't find one person all weekend to say they didn't have a good time
It
with this.
was so
Everyone was
fun.
positive about it.
Dude. So the demo starts. We played for about 15 minutes or so. Blood.
Yeah, it was a real shorty.
Really short.
Real short, but a real good introduction to mechanics. I think that's what it's about. Like, how does this game work? Because it's not the normal thing. You know, it is a third-person shooter with a bit of platforming and stuff in there.
And one of the coolest mechanics I've used in a long time, this hacking mechanic. I'm addicted to this. So you're, the girl wakes you up.
Yeah.
Hugh and Diana.
Yeah, which is funny because like at this point in the story, like they haven't learned each other from the trailer. We saw that like he names her Diana because he can't deal with the robot. But what's funny is that so she's reviving him, right? So she like pulls out this big heavy case, pulls out the thing to revive him, and then starts like repairing the spacesuit and then repairing his cellular structure and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and he sees that there's this robot coming at him, and he sees her, and he doesn't realize that she's a robot too.
Yeah.
And so she's like trying
really
to come
funny.
from behind.
She's like, "Let me help, let me help."
And
he's like,
hack.
"No, get away."
Yeah.
He's just like, "No, I can help. She's like, stand back.
Yeah.
And then she climbs up on his back. He's like, "What are you?" And she's like, "Bah," or whatever, and does the hack.
Yeah.
And this is the primary mechanic of this entire video game, is this hacking, where in real time, slowed down of course, but everything keeps moving, so an enemy's coming at you, this grid pops up, and you have to get from the, one spot to like, there's a node that is like, you'll hack them when you get here.
Yeah, basically it's almost like snaking through a path.
Snake
so there's
through.
like a couple of things that you have to.
You
there's
use
a couple
the face
of
buttons to move
Oh,
around.
Okay.
There's a couple of like spots that you have to hit, and then there's an endpoint. And then once you've gotten the sequence, then their shields open up, and then they're weak to being shot.
And depending on what you hacked through, they will be vulnerable for longer. Later on in the demo, we found other things that you can put onto the hack. Like you can lower their defense.
There's consumable nodes.
Consumable.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
we saw one of those that I think there's basically like weakens them further, but I'm curious what else there will be.
Yeah, the hacking was so addicting and fun, dude. It's like, because you can like easily sometimes just get to them hacking and they're coming at you and about to hit, but it was like, no, but if I just go a couple extra squares and snake around, I can get these like nodes to make it even more powerful. So it's like
so you get caught getting a little too greedy.
A little too greedy. They'll swipe you.
Can I ask from a presentation standpoint? Because the only thing that jumps to mind is like a 7 Remakes battle when you like are choosing your action, but they're still moving.
Yeah.
I'm guessing not that slow, but like, is there any color distortion? Or is it still everything normal? Just the enemies are just slow.
I think it's
slow down.
I think it's normal. It actually didn't feel that much slower to me.
Yeah, not insanely slower. Just
I thought these guys
bit.
were kind of slow to begin with because we're in this starting area.
they're coming at you.
But
I wonder if there's a thing to slow them down further, like a perk or something maybe later.
There is.
So then here's the other
So you have
part.
unlimited pistol ammo, but
So you pick up other weapons, Damiani, and so there's one that was basically like a shotgun.
it was so awesome.
And then there was
It only
another.
has 5 shots, and then you have to throw it away or find a new one.
Right. Yeah. It caps out. You can only get like 5
Who would
shots.
make that? 5 and throw it away? Come on.
Yeah.
Well, no, you basically spend them though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like if you pick up another one, then you get more ammo.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Everyone you pick up tops you off to 5.
the other weapon that we got, it was basically like a net launcher kind of thing, but it wasn't. It didn't look like a net. It was more like a big bubble over an area that like slows down everything like within that bubble.
Love time bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty nice.
And then of course you can dodge. There's a dodge button.
Yeah, you got dodge.
You can hover a little bit.
Yeah, when you jump, you can hold and hover. But the thing is, though, about that main mechanic, like when you first see it on screen and they're telling you about it, it's like, oh, this feels like it's going to be like kind of complex and overwhelming. And it really is not at all.
It was addicting.
Like there are a
dude.
couple of times where my brain wanted to go to the D-pad instead of the face buttons.
Blood, I thought they could make a whole little mini game with just that mechanic. Like that's a game itself. It was so fun.
But that's the thing too, is it's like you use it in combat, but then there are also places where you use it like in the level itself to hack
Yes,
things.
yeah.
So there was a door that required like 3 or 5 things to be hacked, and you had
to
to
find them.
explore the level to find them, and you had a little scanner to ping.
Fun
It's like,
objective.
okay, there's one over here. I've got to drop off of this ledge. I got to climb over here, and all of that.
Yeah.
And get to all of those, and then along the way you would encounter different enemies or obstacles.
Some of the bigger
stuff.
ones too is like, that takes a handful of pistol shots or like a couple of those shotgun blasts.
Yeah.
right
I was
up
saving
close.
my shotgun for the big boys for sure.
Shoot, dodge.
Shoot, dodge.
You brought up a point about wandering around, scanning the environment. Because when we saw this trailer, you were like going crazy about moon base, like top, moon, like environment. How's the environment, and how's how's it feel walking, going through it? Does
Pretty
it
cool. It was like pretty sterile, as in like a lot of hospital style whites and sci-fi whites and silvers. But then there was a moment when we went into like a living quarter area, and there were like bookshelves and beds and stuff. Resident Evil style, documents lying around.
Oh, your favorite thing.
Yeah, explaining the lore.
Yeah.
I was reading all those.
Of course you are.
Here we go.
And then I don't know if you found it, but I found like a little hidden room.
Ooh.
So there's some like basically like the rails that the elevators go up and down on. You can like grab onto one of those and like shoot up a elevator shaft, and it looked like kind of a dead end up there. But I kind of worked my way around, and then triangle button prompt or whatever popped up, and it was a false wall. It was a holographic wall.
False walls.
And I got in there and got some goodies, got some extra.
That's badass, Blin.
False
walls over here, dude. Invisible walls.
And and in the demo, it was just like some extra ammo and consumable stuff. But I would not be surprised if in the final game there's something better there. Yeah. So because who knows what the final progression and stuff.
Yeah.
But like we said, Damiani,
It was so fun, dude. Holy shit.
this demo was cruelly short.
Oh, it was brutal.
And we just saw it. We just saw in the trailer the boss fight.
I was ready to demolish this friggin' thing.
They did not let us play the boss
As
fight.
soon as the boss
comes out,
we gotta
cutscene
stop
is-
there.
Tap tap tap.
Yeah.
You're
I was like,
done.
dude, let me take this thing out. I was so ready, dude. I was so ready, Damiani.
Oh.
Yeah, there was like this big elevator section you're going up, and enemies are spawning in. There's like some
Yeah, that's right.
flying
Yeah, they had like a
enemies
beat 'em up style. Yeah, elevator
Yeah.
room. Yeah.
swarming you from multiple sides. That's when the hacking gets even more intense because you're hacking this enemy, other enemies are coming. So it's like prioritizing which one you're gonna take out, how you're gonna do it.
Oh,
Fun game,
we gotta
dude.
bring up
Healer
too,
first.
kind of almost exoprimal-ish.
Dinosaurs?
There's the malevolent AI over the. Remember, like speaking, like commanding the robots and everything.
yeah.
And so it's like, and just the way that it just so like coldly gives its commands. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we have an unwanted guest. Please,
Yeah.
please,
Eliminate
see him out.
Or it was like eliminate them, and then
I don't think it was eliminated.
it was something like that, or like deal with them, and then Diana was like
remove the guest from the premises.
remove, and then Diana goes remove us or whatever. Like what?
You're on the moon. Where are you going to remove us to? And yeah, there was right before the boss fight. There was that nice like window shade opening to see the landscape outside and stuff.
You're going outside, right?
Oh yeah,
Into the
Dead Space vibes, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
I'm really and then we're also picking up this currency, which we have no idea how it's used. Some kind of blue orb liquid type thing.
No, that's stuff you were using to heal.
No, there was another thing. I had like 482 in the top right corner. 100%.
Okay,
And
I thought you used that to heal as well as whatever else it probably does later, which would be interesting if like you have to spend experience points to heal.
Yeah. Because I even asked the dev at the end. He didn't correct me. I was like, yeah, I'm really curious about like what that currency does that I kept picking up. He's like, oh yeah. So I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe
I had
maybe I was
interpreted it, but it was 15 minutes. So.
Yeah. Learning all this in quick session. But it was really promising, really exceeded my expectations. Gave me a little binary domain vibes for sure. A little bit of Vanquish, a little bit of Piano 3.
Yeah,
kind of in
there's that.
realm. And yeah, I mean, it's Capcom too. So like even higher expectations because we know it's from Capcom. So they've been cooking on this, and I am eagerly awaiting this game now, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, cool stuff. That is our Capcom block for this morning. Like Heber said, we also did an interview for Onimusha, so
Yes.
check that out.
Shout out to Isla's MacGyvering of the filming process. it was crazy. Like things were malfunctioning, and she was using like makeup kits as like a tripod or something.
My gimbal's battery died right at the beginning of the interview, and I propped the camera up with a diptyque perfume.
It was awesome. It was inspired.
Yeah, so that'll be up either at the same time as this or just not too long afterwards. And we also have tons of other stuff from Summer Game Fest. We've got 2 bigger videos where we go through about 20 games in each, so check out all of that stuff. Shuhei Yoshida came by for the first ones, which was really fun. And we have a few more things that made us hold back. So keep an eye out for all of those. Some will be up today, some will be up tomorrow, and some will be up next week. So yeah, thank you for watching, and check out our channel and check out patreon.com/easyallies because we are supported by people just like you. Thanks.